One of my sons was needing some driving hours towards getting his driver's license. So we went on a day trip down to Byron Bay, which is in northern New South Wales, and it's about 2.5 hour drive from my home. That's just north of Brisbane in Australia. Byron Bay has the highest concentration of whisky distilleries, well, at this point in time anyhow, and that's nearest to me. And whilst that is changing, with new distilleries opening a little bit closer to home in more recent years, none are actually selling whisky yet. Some are selling gin, but it's going to be a few more years yet before they release actual whisky offerings to the public. In Byron, then, there are 3 that I know of. AOB, which have no cellar door. They don't do tastings or anything like that either. The Highwayman Distillery, which is open by appointment only, although they do tastings and tours from time to time. And finally, the Cape Byron Distillery. Cape Byron, in Australian whisky lore, has a very, very interesting story behind it. Their setup is refreshingly untraditional in recent Australian standards anyway, and yet it's also traditional in some Scottish respects. And when I was there, I managed to procure a sample of 6 of their whiskies. And so today, I'm embarking upon the Cape Byron Week. And we're going to kick it off with the Cape Byron Original Single Malt Whisky. So strap yourselves in. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is Whisky. I'm John Chidgey. Always remember to drink responsibly, in moderation, and where and when appropriate. Feel free to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and visit engineer.network/whisky without the E to learn how you can support the show. Thank you. Before we get to the whisky, there's a fair bit of stuff to explore with Cape Byron, so let's start today with where the distillery is. The entrance is a relatively steep, narrow road down from the top of St Helena Road, above the relatively new tunnel on the Pacific Motorway, and it's technically in McLeod's Chute, not in Byron Bay. And it's about 10 k's, as the crow flies, from Cape Byron itself. I mean, that's close enough to Cape Byron, right? Anyway. The road is surrounded by a temperate rainforest on both sides, and it forks off to the cellar door on a light gravel road into a gravel car park. And the cellar door is, well, a rustic kind of shed. I mean, it's been built out of rustic materials, but it's not actually that old. It has a very Aussie feel to it, and I kind of loved it, if I'm gonna be honest. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. In 1988, Pam and Martin Brook bought a 39-hectare or 96-acre lantana-infested former dairy farm in the Byron Bay hinterland, completely sight unseen, moving their family to northern New South Wales. The land had been cleared long before and was in fact being sold because it really wasn't the best spot to have a dairy farm on, so they sort of set about replanting and restoring the original subtropical or temperate rainforest, and started a section as a macadamia farm. After planting over 40,000 trees and caring for the land over multiple decades, but when I was driving in and out of the distillery, you could have fooled me that it had been like that forever. I said to the staff that were walking me through the history of the distillery on the day, and I'll say it again now, it gives me hope that we can undo the damage that's been caused by previous generations. Where there's a will, there's a way, and what they've achieved is to be applauded. Seriously, I'm very impressed, and I'm so glad that they've done it. The Brooks sons, Will and Eddie, grew up in a farm environment, noting that whilst Eddie was born in Melbourne, at the tender age of 8 years old, he then moved to Byron, and it was Eddie that would ultimately branch out into the spirits business. When he took a job in Brisbane, working behind a bar, or 2 or more, during his studies, and then got into spirits sales and marketing at South Trade International. Starting out as a marketing coordinator and then eventually an event and communication coordinator, sales executive, and finally a brand manager, with a career spanning nearly 4 years before returning to the family business, Brook Farm, in late 2015. During his time as a brand manager at South Trade, Eddie represented the following brands in the Australian market: Agua, The Botanist, Finest Call, Dictador, Tofka, and now some names that I've actually heard of: Teeling, Irish whiskey, and, wait for it, Brook Lardy. Now, it was by chance in this role that Eddie was assigned to take Hall of Fame and Master Distiller of the Year, Brook own and whiskey world famous Jim McEwan, on a tasting tour of Australia and New Zealand. Jim McEwan is most well known for his whiskey career, but he also has a passion for gin, as did Eddie Brook. Jim actually played a big role behind the botanist gin made at Brook. Anyhow, on the tour, they became fast friends, and Eddie's desire to bring natural Australian flavours to gin, having a rainforested, beautiful spot for it, they set about building and opening the Cape Byron Distillery, which officially opened on Monday the 14th of November 2016. They launched exclusively with gin offerings, followed by some seasonal gins and liqueurs. They laid down their very first whiskey in 2019, which was first made available in 2022. One of the quotes from Cape Byron's head distiller, Eddie Brook, that shows up throughout their website goes like this: "Our whiskey lives and breathes the conditions of the dense subtropical rainforest here in the hinterland of Byron Bay. Our barrels have lay weight within the rainforest and take in all of the elements throughout their maturation. We have something here that is really unique." I've talked a lot so far. Let's dig into that some more next time. On to the whiskey. The original costs $129.99 Australian for a 700ml bottle from the Cape Byron Distillery website plus shipping. That said, you can also get it from Dan Murphy's, but the best price in store is actually from Sense of Taste. That's $122.99 Australian. It has no age statement, it has a 47% ABV, and it is not chill filtered, nor is it coloured. My kind of whiskey. It's considered to be part of their core range of whiskies. Now, the original brought home a gold at the 2023 San Francisco World Spirit Competition and a platinum award and Best Australian Whiskey at the 2023 SIP Awards, also known as the International Spirits Competition. The website has the following to say about their original offering. Cape Byron, the original Australian single malt whiskey, batch 9, the signature expression, aged in American oak ex-bourbon casks. They go on to say the following, but it's standard blurb actually for every single one of their whiskies. It goes like this. Co-created by one of Scotland's most awarded master distillers, Jim McEwan, and Cape Byron Distillery co-founder and distiller Eddie Brook, this Australian adaptation of a classic Scottish whiskey is truly remarkable and unique to the terroir of the Byron Bay region. Well, all right then. The Cape Byron website doesn't specifically have tasting notes, but I've shuffled around the things that they do say to kind of make some. So, the colour. It's the colour of a Byron Bay sunset. Well, alright then. I mean, it's not really a recognised colour, but it's kind of cute, I guess. On the nose. There are no notes about the nose. On the palate. Soft vanilla, creme brulee, and biscotti characters, layered over distinct notes of pear, coconut, and buttery macadamia. Ooh, that sounds alright. And on the finish, there are no notes about the finish either. That's okay. It's all good, really. Alright, let's have a taste now. So, when I actually got this home, I wrote what it was on it. Better than the number. So I would say that is a pale gold colour. It is quite light. Just looking for legs. Or tears, as I've heard them referred to from time to time by Jim McEwan. Oh, there are lots of very slow running ones. Some of them are picking up pace a little bit. It does look delightfully oily, I must say. There is a school of thought that the number, quantity, and thickness of those tears and the viscosity has also got to do with the age of the spirit too. But still learning. Dunno. Alright, let's see what we got on the nose. I'm really curious about this one. The original. Let's see. Ooh, hello. That's very bright and fresh, I gotta say. That is, it's very floral. It's a very light floral smell. Jeez, it just smells really delightful. It smells light. It doesn't smell like a heavy whiskey at all. It smells very bright. I'd say there's a bit of a lemon citrus on that as well. I can definitely smell a little bit of vanilla. The thing that strikes me about it, though, is that it's almost a little bit like smelling a garden, like a flower garden. That's really quite pleasant, I have to admit. I do love the smell of that. Alright, I'm itching to try this. Let's see how we go. Oh, that's caught me off guard, that. Wow. Okay. That is very pleasant. That's delightful. It's got a 47% ABV, but it's like it's almost like it's just right. Like, like it's not watery at all. It's the mouth feels it's not super, it's not really chewy. It's not super chewy. Like you can, like, I'd describe it as maybe a little bit oily. It's not buttery, it's not really creamy, but it's not watery, it's not thin. It's kind of, I'd describe it as being just right. It tastes so, it's just beautifully pleasant. The mouthfeel is just beautifully pleasant. I don't know how else to describe it at this point. I'm definitely getting a little bit of coconut, not like a desiccated coconut, kind of like a shredded and slightly cooked coconut. Interesting. I'm definitely getting a little bit of, they say pear, I'd almost say green apple, but it's it's bloody good though, eh? I mean, really. And it's got, okay, so the warmth on the back of my palate, right down the middle, and then towards the back, and it develops, and it sort of like hangs around a little bit. It's probably got about a moderate sort of a finish on it. It's not super long, but it's also, I wouldn't describe it as short either. Geez, this is such a delightful sipping whiskey. I've got to say, I'm pretty impressed. This is, they make this 2.5 hours from my joint. I mean, geez, holy crap. This is, I got to say, all things considered, I mean, you got to realize Australian whiskey is still very young in a lot of ways, and it's got a long way to go. And like the maturity of this, like it really is quite impressive. I'm not entirely sure I'm blown away, but I'm certainly very, very impressed. I could just smell that. Actually, yeah, I get a bit of a light, sort of there's a little bit of a gentle nuttiness to it. The problem I have with macadamia, because they say macadamia, the problem with macadamia is it's not a really intense smell. Like, I don't think it is. Like peanuts, cashews maybe, but macadamia is a bit like Brazil nuts. They don't have a massively overpowering flavor, which is good. I mean, in terms of because they're fantastic, just lightly seasoned. They're quite a delightful nut, but in terms of getting that on the nose, it's so delicate. Like I can sort of detect it, just really super faint, but it is there. But it's not a very strong macadamia. But that's okay, because I don't think it's easy to get a strong macadamia. Like, you'd have to put in a lot of macadamia into it, into like a macadamia liqueur, which they do make, and I have to try at some point. But anyhow, God, I just can't stop smelling that. That's really nice. Okay. Oh, that is really quite bloody good, eh? Okay. Well, suitably impressed. And this is their first offering. This is the original, the entry level. Alright, so let's rate this baby. Where does it sit? For a cost, clearly it's a 2. It's affordable for good whiskey. In terms of the quality, I don't have to think hard about this. This is easily a 3. It is a go-to pleasant drink, and it is making me smile. I am really enjoying this. It is, I mean, in terms of like a nice sipping whiskey, this is pretty damn good. I would say, I'm not entirely sure I'd go with a high 3. It's a solid 3, I'd say. It's like if it had a little bit more age, I think, maybe a little bit more depth in the mouthfeel and a bit more complexity, that would bump it up a decent amount. I'm actually now even more excited to try some of the other samples that I've got that have been matured and finished in different things. But to be honest, yeah, anyway, this is pretty damn impressive. So for a cost of 2 and a quality of 3, that makes this a green. I mean, honestly, yeah, generally keep some of these on hand. And given that I can pick this up at Sense of Taste for $123, I mean, this is pretty damn respectable, and that's great value. That's a 700ml bottle. That's pretty damn good value for something that's this good. Wow. I mean, I gotta say, Eddie and Jim, Nice work, and so far so good. You got me excited about the next one, so... Oh yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Thanks, and cheers. See you next time. That is just delightful. Nice.